And so we come to the answer to that question now, and it's a great one at that, and I knew it was going to be one of the big ones over the top of this. The NFL deadline is on Tuesday. You don't have 3 or 4 weeks to look across the landscape and let the weather play out and see what's going to happen then at that point. You have a big decision to make right now. And there are trades that can be made sometimes in desperation by teams that want to just get rid of a player and they don't care what they're getting back in return. That's not what I'm talking about doing. There are situations on the other side of it where teams will come calling for certain players and they're willing to give you the star, the sun, and the moon to make the deal happen. And that it can be a time of year where you're able to maximize out the draft capital in a way that you might not be able to do in an offseason on the same given player. If we're going to play the Rams this upcoming week and it's going to be another sub-embarrassing kind of game, I hope it's not going to be. I want to see the team win here. So please, I want people to get their emotions when I say this, but I'm just trying to analyze what I'm seeing. I'm not trying to be too much with the dog in the fight on this. And this Rams team is invested heavily in their offensive line. They want to run the ball. They have a talented running back. They have Kupp. They have Puka back, guys that have given us fits both individually and now paired together. So I think it has a lot of potential trouble town here and how this might set up. And if that happens and you go to 4-5 and now we're in sort of the 5th embarrassing loss in 6 games going this way, I think you've got to be more into that sell mode at the trade deadline. Not in fire sell, not in that you're going to just offload assets, but that if there's teams that are going to come and there's a deal that makes sense from Schneider's perspective to get draft capital back here, then I think you got to start to do that. Not only because you most likely have a collection of some guys here that aren't going to quite fit this thing, but then also too, because I think it could send definitely a message down in this locker room where if there is, and I'm not saying I know 100% with certainty, but if this does exist where there is a lack of energy or effort, or there is lack of not getting that consistent effort play in and play out, that type of thing can resonate through a locker room and start to maybe send a wake-up call here. Coach Carroll and Schneider, when they first walked in the door, didn't in that first year necessarily get to snipping and cutting and we're going to roll through. And then they became very famous for the amount of churn that they went through over a 3-year period. It's like 1,600 players or some ridiculous amount that they went through over that period. And part of what they were doing with that was instilling within it the mindset of the players of, you better toe the line. You better not get too comfy here and that you're all set and you don't have to give out all the energy, that you can do just the bare minimum and that's going to be good enough, because it's not good enough. And you'd hear this resonate on down to a guy like Sherman long after he had gotten paid, still talking about why he went hard in practice, because he remembered those days, those players being churned through and how cutthroat it got and how that put that mentality on play that any given point, that man behind you can come get your job. It'd be great to just be able to just say, go do your job and not have to have somebody hot on the back of your heels in that way, or to make the players have to understand that that's a real possibility here. But unfortunately, if it's going to continue to look this bad, desperate times, desperate measures. I don't know what to say about it other than that. So I don't want to be on full on just sell no matter what, but I will say that if it's going to be another one after this week and you don't have any more time to make these choices, that you have to basically choose by Tuesday what you're going to do on this one based on what I've seen from this team so far. What we're hoping to see from the team beyond wins and losses was the incremental growth. Was that, okay, it's not that you may end out of the season at 6 wins, but does the team get better as they go along? Do you see the cohesion coming together? Are you able to add more on the playbook instead of less? And that's a little bit of why I think you got to be willing to make this move potentially if you're John in the situation and how you look at it. He doesn't, I'm not going to be squawking here since you should have moved this guy and you should have moved that guy. Hey, if you want to just trust in the pocket, stay with this the rest of the season, that's a great approach as well to fully make your assessment at that point. I'm just saying that if there's some ripe piece of fruit that's going to land in your lap, that you can't let that ripe piece of fruit fall out of your lap simply because you want to have and hold on to, I think, the hope here that this year is going to be the year of contention. I can't remember the last team that was in contention that had this many embarrassing losses like this over the course of a season, where you're getting spanked in so many ways. It's weird to me that some people are looking at this Bills game and walking away from it saying, oh, but it was just this play, but if that's just that play, and if he just doesn't snap it over his head there, and we got physically dominated on both sides of the ball, and it's happening on a weekly basis. That's not a one play thing. That's you just don't have the horses up front to get the job done thing.